Welcome again to another rough cut video, and as you can tell, it's hot out there. You hear the fan in the background. Sorry for the noise, but it's hard to talk to you if I have sweat running down my face and I'm like melting. I'm melting. No. So I'm gonna go over guards really quick as relates to sword and shield. So right off the bat, I'm gonna go over general shield guards, the basics. Now there's all sorts of things, but I'm gonna stick to what's important and pertinent for 98% of the fighters, really. And so right off the bat, we're going to start with the shield, then we'll move to the sword, and then the integration of both there. So you got a shield. You got a shield like this, or small shield like this, you know, or some people fight with even bigger shields, you know. But I'll stick to Goliath here, my giant war shield here. And so on shield guards, once you've watched the stance video, you can decide which leg you want to start with. I'm going to go ahead and go with my favorite one, which is the sword side forward. So, but you can do it either way. It really doesn't matter. So as far as your shield, where does it go? Whether or not it's side mounted, you know, with your hand along the side, or it's a center grip like these happen to be. I can go to the car and go grab my other shields out of there, but I'm not going to bother. It's basically the idea. You're smart enough, well, you're probably dumb enough if you're sword fighting, but you're smart enough to gather this stuff. So as far as your shields go, there's a few predominant shield guards that you see people use. One of them right off the bat you'll often see is people who fight with an open guard with the shield, which means open. I'm facing there, it's open. It's open. I can see you, you can see me, but I got this cool point right here, right? I'm gonna block that stuff you throw at my head, gonna block what you throw at my leg, that sort of thing. You know, I mean, some people do it straight up and down as well. Doesn't really provide it the same defense, but they're all open guards. They're variations on open guards. So your shield is open, and it's open and ready to intercept shots out there next to Redhead Man here. Boom, 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 a lot closer out there. You're ready to either pick them up statically or punch block out to get them. Now, this is used by a lot of people, and you know, one of the advantages of it is as I can see you. You know, you can see my eyes. That means I can see you. Disadvantage is you can see me all here. So an open guard is great in cool sports stance, and I use it plenty on one-on-ones. If I go out on a war field or something like that and start using this, I'll get gutted right here. Somebody else spear me from the side and I'm toast. So highly ineffective against multiple opponents. By multiple, I don't mean two guys, because really, if you're worth your salt, you can fight two guys and waste them on a melee field. But when they got 4, 8 guys, whatever, you know, who are decent, you're gonna just get smoked. You open up the entire side of you to this, you get smoked. Plus, really good fighters know how to exploit that and hit those gaps. So another issue I have with that is the difference between the shields and their blocking techniques. Is that any of the shields, when you pick up a strike on the face of the shield, it moves a lot. I mean, even if this is strapped solidly to my arm, a hit to the face of a shield moves it a lot more than a hit to the side. Because the side shot has to move the entire mass of the shield in order to displace it. A face shot only has to do enough force to rotate it and displace it. That's why some guys will reach their shield over here and they'll like pick it up on the face and it'll still hit them in the ribs, a sword shot, because it'll cave the shield. Or it'll bend this one down. Whereas if you hit it on the edge, it just doesn't move anywhere. I'll demonstrate that in another video, but in any case, so the open guard with the shield gives you a lot of vision, a lot of maneuverability too. Your shield's not sitting here in the way, right? You can do a lot of your stuff unimpaired for the most part and just keep it here. But on the other hand, this is what you see, right? This is what I've got covered frontally from my opponent. It's a decent stance. It's a good stance in many cases, but it does leave you more exposed because you can see me a lot more as well. I don't blind myself. I can exploit you well, but you also can exploit me. So it may signal a slightly higher offensive capability for a lot of fighters, but it's also gonna give you a corresponding deficit to your defensive capabilities for a lot of people. Now, some guys are just really freaking good. I know some guys that I really admire as fighters, and they use that guard and they smoke people. Awesome. For me, I generally don't. I favor the second shield guard, which is the closed guard. And if this is open, what's going to be closed? Probably this. Where it is closed, the door to your torso and everything else is closed. And on that one, instead of being out here like this, you hold it in front of you. About at the sternum height. So if your thumb is like hitting your sternum, or actually the xiphoid process, the bottom of your sternum, you know it's about right. That should also be about where it's nice and comfortable to hold your shield. Now, a center mount, side-mounted shield, this is for center mount, have the thumb at your xiphoid process there, bottom of your sternum. On a side mount shield, you come over a little bit further. Your hand will be a little bit further, but basically the center of your forearm or whatever should be about at that spot too. Keep the shield placed in front of you. This is a closed guard. It is essential for line fighting when you're against opponents who are going to strike you from all sides, particularly thrusts and spears from the front and things like that. You want to have your shield obviously closed because you don't want to get smoked, right? Nobody does generally. So you close it up, and not only do you just hold it straight up and down and keep it closed here, I always suggest you keep it slightly out and slightly angled up. So red band here, I would keep it slightly angled up, almost as if it's a mirror reflecting his face back at him. What this ensures is that in his vision, it takes up as much of the target plane as possible to block the visibility. The issue with most fighters is they don't perceive targets, they see targets. They don't fire at a target unless they can see it with their eyes. They have to be visually triggered. And this is for like 95% of the fighters. And that's why they're very easy to shut down. 95% of the fighting population, if you can simply cut off their ability to see a target, they don't even know it's there, so they just kind of gamble at things. Whereas if you perceive it, you might not be able to. So if I go here, you can't see my leg to hit it. But if your mind makes the model in its head, my leg's right here the whole time. Really easy to get hit. But if you can't see that leg, your mind doesn't like, okay, fire at the leg. So in center mount, or a closed guard here, side mount or center mount, bring it out. Even the side mount ones, pick them up a little bit. Just reflect their face, just slightly. I mean, you can see there just the difference that it makes of what you can see as far as my targeting here. If I just move it just a little bit out, just a little bit out makes a big difference as far as what you can see, as far as the body mass there. And the cool thing about that too is like when somebody goes for that invariable face, you don't even have to lift your shield, you just pop it forward. It comes in, you pop this up, and it intercepts it. Boom, just duck out a little bit. In any case, so the advantages of having a closed guard are that your shield is covering you against thrusts and other offside attacks a lot better. Plus, I use it as a stable platform for blocking. So when somebody throws like a wrap or a shot over this way, I throw my shield out like this, but I don't roll it to the side. I don't want it to catch the face and rotate. I want it to hit that edge solid. And if they hit that edge solid, the difference between like hitting something on the face here is the face moves. Actually, let's do it here. That is a proper edge block. So when people, they throw it there, it doesn't move. But if you catch on the side, it flops to the side. So you don't want your shield flopping around. For me anyways, I don't like that. I like stopping their shots dead by keeping a closed guard. So I really like that. Plus the ability to cut off the visual of your opponent. Now, depending on the size of your shield, but really most all of them, on a closed guard, you can't see, well actually you can. If you have it at the angle, you can see a lot of your opponent. You can see him fresh, really good. But you don't have the ability to cut as close on the angles because this is getting in the way, right? So you need to learn how to adapt. Like when you throw a snap from here, you can just throw straight through, right? Without even moving your shield. You can't just throw straight through here because your arm's hitting there. So you have to learn how to essentially adjust this shield out as you move. So It could. Now, I'm not saying it does, because really, I don't necessarily think it does, but for some fighters, it very possibly will reduce your offensive capability by like 10%, but increase your defense capability by 10%. So if you want to take it in gamer terms, it's more like, you know, an open guard is more like an offensive stance, you know, to increase your offensive power by a percentage, but it lowers your defense. And then the closed guard ups your defense by lowering your offense. I find the closed guard to be like useful almost all the time with most encounters, especially in the SCA. So I use it a lot, but I use them all. I don't use just one. So those are the basic two. I'm not going to go into any other funky ones because I know a lot of them. I mess around all the time. So open and close. Now let's roll to the sword here. So sword guards are basically your default placement zones for your weapon. So back in the day, it was all the rage. Well, actually, there were quite a few rages, but people, and still nowadays, some really adept fighters, they have a shoulder guard. They fire from here. They fire from the shoulder. They'll often slide the weapon off and fire from here. Not much of a guard, more like a ready stance, because from here you generally can't block anything actively by default, you know, just innately. You have to move your weapon to block it. So you are relying a lot on shield. You see a lot of people fight from here with an open guard from here. So you got a shoulder guard, right? Then you have a steeple guard, which is where you bring this weapon down and it forms like one half of a steeple. Often that other half of the steeple will be, normally a lot of guys with giant shields who use like huge, ridiculously huge shields for tournaments in SCA, but it'll form like this. And this gives them that visibility of the open guard with the shield, but also gives them an offside protective measure here with the sword so that they can pick up really fast offside stuff and still strike out from there. A lot of times those tend not to be big wind-up shots, big heavy hitters, but they're fast because they're already starting off with their weapon halfway to you. So just be aware of that. So you got the shoulder guard, you got the steeple guard, and then the iron guard is the one that I use mostly, and that's really a sword guard, effective sword guard up here. You'll start here, but often you'll start here or here. And this is actually the motion that guard does. You don't want to have your arm like this. You want to have it at an angle so that incoming shots will glance off your armor here and not stick. If you have it straight up and down, nothing's glancing off that, and they'll just crack you in that forearm, and it won't be pleasant. So you're here, and your sword blade is facing out, angled outward slightly to intercept shots on the edge. So you're here, and then you rotate here to block the snaps, here to block shots across the top, and here to block offsides. And it's really just orbits. It orbits here. Boom, boom, boom. Now, that right there is predominantly just a sword and shield type stance. I mean, you can use it in single sword and other things, but highly effective in sword and shield for maximizing your defensive strategy. You know, the iron guard is. They used to call it the iron chicken, and some people have relayed to me because, well, it was meant to be a disrespectful term about what chickens people were by holding their sword up there to block their head. But highly effective, and highly effective in real life. Use it in Europe. It works great in the live steel tournaments, and lots of people are switching over to it. So the iron guard can also go from this guard right here, and people throw shots around, deep shots. You just like drape it back here. So it can quickly cover even deeper blows. This right here, this sword is primary offensive and light defenses to the offside, but it's very difficult to get this to come back here and block for like a scorpion wrap or whatever. So there's different times to use the different stances. So for right now, you've got the shoulder guard, you've got the steeple, and you've got the iron guard here with the sword. Now let's combine them real quick here. So we're going to go through this shoulder guard. Generally what it looks like, it's really easy. It's like, okay, we're here. Like they keep the elbow in. I keep the elbow out, actually. I have rotational mechanics that really come to play. But in any case, so you'll be here. You'll have your open guard, and you'll have, this is your shoulder guard. A closed guard is just simply going to be like this, right here. You do the same thing right here. You got to be ready to duck because you don't have much in the way of blocking. And if you like lift your shield way up here, your legs are way open. Unlike this one, you can kind of pick that up and pick up that leg at the same time. So shoulder guard from the open, shield guard, and then closed. And then you have the steeple. Steeple can be done the same. It can be done here, like that, or it can even be done closed, because a lot of people, they'll fade from here, and they'll go, oh, I like doing this. This is like more comfortable for me. Okay, cool. But you got to bring up that point of the shield. You got to bring up something to try to like make up for the fact that you don't want to have to reach way over there to block your head. And then you got the iron guard. You can do the iron guard from here, and I do that a lot of times on people if they're legged or whatever. I'll step in like this so I can see their full profile and catch everything there. You can do it from the open guard. You can rotate around it. But once again, the default preference of mine is right here. And that's because it obviously blocks a lot more of me with a tiny ass shield. You know, I mean, if I want to, I could just like totally disappear behind it. So, got the iron guard here in the closed or the open. So that's really the open and close on the shield, the shoulder, the steeple, and the iron guard with the sword. Combine them all, play around with them, have fun with them. Find out which ones you like, which ones are most effective for you, but still learn the others. Become really proficient at the others, because you need to know everything to be a complete swordsman. You don't want to be this monofaceted, narrow-minded person who, this is the only way to do it. Well, it could be the most effective way. But you're going to come across people who make the other ways work really, really well. And you got to be able to not only know their advantages and disadvantages, but you got to be able to teach your students too. Someday you'll be teaching everybody, and you need to know everything as much as you can, so you don't teach them some really narrow-minded kung fu form that ends up really in the long run getting their butts kicked. So keep an open mind, as I say, keep an open mind, keep training, and catch you on the next video.